Elton John, so you
thank you for that. So thanks for having me. Thanks for showing up. I'm going to talk a bit about my work. It's great to hear from you and your experience. So I shortly want to tell how I got into the business. It was 3 years after you left. I was doing I was in high school. No, not high school. I was doing a study as a product designer, and I had to look for a internship. And I was playing a lot of pinball. On the Saturday nights I would go into the bars and play a lot of pinball, also as a kid on the camping sites in France. And I came up, and I actually was working a lot with Photoshop, learning early Photoshop, 3D animation. And so I thought maybe I can get an internship at Williams in Chicago. And that's how I made a portfolio. I sent it to the art department. So it was Greg Ferris who hired me as an intern. And they didn't really hire that much interns in Williams. So I was surprised, especially after you know that only 2 weeks after I started, they closed down the department. So I was the last employee of Williams to get hired. It was not because of me, but no, it was sad because you know, it was for me a dream come true, and it just finished really quick. I was able to finish my internship at Midway Gaming. I worked on touchscreen games with Greg, and we always kept in touch during the years after that. And so when Greg got involved into Jersey Jack Pinball, I guess he sort of felt sorry that I hadn't had the chance to work in pinball, and I had built up an experience in television working on animations and motion graphics. And so he asked, there's this new company, and they're going to use a LCD screen, and we need an animator for it. And I just started freelancing, so we tried. So I said, yeah, let's give it a try. So I did my animations in Nijmegen, in the Netherlands, and I sent my animations to Jack, and yes, it worked. It's on his screen. So since then, so I was involved since the start, and so I worked on every Jersey Jack game until now. So this is since 2011, mainly animations. But then, so I'm going to show you some of my. This is my work from the first 5 games, including The Big Lebowski. Just let it run. It is really nicely edited to music, but I don't hear the music, so. So that is my first 5 games. So here is a list of, over the years, I became responsible for the LCD animations, and then during Hobbit I got involved in the licensor contact, which is nice to have as an artist, to get direct feedback from them and not by some person who communicates with them. And that worked out. Then I started doing some printed art on the Hobbit. So I'm gonna tell a bit more on that, all of this. Then I am preparing art received from the artist, to prepare it for print, to prepare it for Merco, to get everything correct. Not every artist has the ability to convert it to print. Then I started doing the marketing material, banners, flyers, flowcharts, social media, website assets, and Jersey Jack was really small from the start, so you know the company grew and grew. So also the amount of work. And then we started doing trailers for the release, and especially, I guess, during COVID, when we released Guns N' Roses, we couldn't go do shows. So for Guns N' Roses, we produced this big trailer, and then these guys, and it's an outside company, they also want to include the graphics that are in the game. So we have to go HD and produce that. And then I became more the art director within the company. So this is my office in Nijmegen. And as you can see, Greg is still watching over my shoulder. This is when he went for retirement. There was some retirement party, and he had all this, everybody was wearing his face. So I get test prints of the Playfield by Merco. These are all pre-production and samples, and some color proofs on plastic and some on paper. But yeah, as I told, they sent out artwork from the US as well. But it's convenient that Merco is here and it's not too far. So going back to what I started with was the LCD and the UI layout. We have this big screen now, and we have a lot more to show instead of a DMD. And Keith Johnson was the programmer on Wizard of Oz, the first programmer. He designed the whole software, the system, and he came out with this idea to have these sort of 3 DMD displays on top of each other, and that this is really like what Stern display was at the time of Wizard of Oz. You had these small scores on the sides, and I was like, well, okay, yeah, I can do it. And so we started from there, and then I thought, then as soon as the rules evolved more, I tried some other sketches and other ways to lay out the display. So here you see some early sketches on that, and you can start seeing the final layout we came up with, or I came up with. But there's so much to do. And this is the first execution. There was nobody had done this before, so we had to figure it all out, and yeah, this is what we came up with. And I sort of wanted to keep it a kind of the quirky 1940s look, as the movie is. It was 75 years old, so but rotoscoping, movie clips, and like the characters, rotoscoping is like cutting out characters, but then in animation, making it so you can put it in any background. So it was really finding out how to develop a layout, but for the next game you don't want to reuse it because it's in a different theme and you have different rules, so every display needs to be redeveloped and redesigned. Here are some samples for the Hobbit, and this is the final UI. This is a sample video that we had to send out to the licensor to show how we were going to use the video footage in the game. So we have loops and we have hits. When you make a hit, then you progress in the story and you go into the second loop. until you make a shot, and then so on and on. And on Dialed In, we had our first non-licensed game for a long time, and we had to fill the screen there as well. And this is one of the first tests to see, okay, we had this idea about the city and how it could be a sort of a CNN news broadcast showing events in the city. And this was a really early mock-up where and John Youssi and Pat Lawler came on board. So he brought in John Youssi as the artist. And John Youssi drew a sketch for us to how the city could look and should look. And then I built it in 3D with help of another ex-colleague of mine. And another sort of matte painting in the background. It's like you explained earlier, it's a still, but we change. So during gameplay, it's a sort of a disaster game. For those who don't know it, we start destroying all these buildings. So this is a sort of. Oh, sorry, I was.
Wondering, I always thought it was a 2D dimension. So are you saying it's a 3D model, and it's a camera make more of it, but it's not? Like, why does the camera fly?
Yeah, you want to fly through. That's what I want to, but it's then you're going, and I don't have the experience of real-time 3D graphics, which is used in games, and the programs didn't have the knowledge, and there is also like the question, how far do you want to go with that? Because then you're almost going into a gaming world, and it just takes a lot more resources to do that. But yes, from the start I wish we could do a lot more real-time effects, but it also takes a lot of more computing power, so more expensive computer in your pinball machine. But yeah, it's very complex if you have all these different states of the buildings being destroyed, and then still, having fly through with a different state. It is so we chose for this, and I call it 3D because it's modeled in 3D, but not hand painted. Yeah. So this is where I started off, and like having getting license or approval. This is a rejected sample of how we're used of integrating pinballs in a extra ball animation, like in Indiana Jones. You have the extra, he's running from the big ball, and you have and if you do that with video footage, licensors can not be open for that and reject ideas like this. So it is a crude mock-up because you can still see the arm flying from the actual troll that crashed down. But if they would approve this, then you go into more detailed work. Another sample of that is this one. Yeah, so you try to find sections in movies where maybe a pinball could live, or could be in that one. And of course, in the movie, this was a rock, a big rock. This is another idea that got rejected because this was the animation for the original animation of the skull. Was just the 5th movie, and they had a Pirates of the Caribbean skull that was a generic one for all movies, and they wanted they wanted me to use that one. For Pixar, I had this. I wanted to use this idea, and that was rejected because they don't want the mix of a theme with our brand. But I did work in television. There's a channel, Film One, and I did recreate the Pixar animation. But then you don't have to deal with all the licensors. and they cannot keep track of everything that is happening on television. So I also got involved in doing printed art. So Greg got me into, Greg was at Jersey Jack for 1 year. He did the Playfield art, but Jersey Jack couldn't keep him because the company was not going fast enough to keep him going. And at one point, Stern asked him, and he decided to go to Stern. So Wizard of Oz for him was finished, and there was no, it would have been great to have him still on board to be the art director and create more art for Jersey Jack. So on the Hobbit, another artist was hired, and he was creating some art I wasn't really fond of, and during the Greg period, he was really open to feedback, and he was even asking me for ideas in the playfield, and I was like, well, I'm just new here. I'm doing animations. I was surprised that Greg asked me. But so during the Hobbit, this artist, he was not so open to feedback, and I was giving ideas, and at one point he decided to, and Jack decided to stop him and asked me, hey, can you maybe do this? So that's where I got involved in doing the entire art package for the Hobbit and the screen animations. But back then we had a lot more time to do this. Obviously, I cannot do both at the same time. So this is an earlier mock-up, and there's a whole story behind the Hobbit. Obviously, we released it with this image, but the Smog image was just not there yet. We were working on this while the movies were still being released, and they kept Smog, like your Terminator story, they kept a lot of visuals away until the release. So we were able to, we got a lot of feedback on, we actually showed this game on Expo, and we got feedback, and we were able to make changes, and this is how we were able to redesign it to look better. Then for several projects I didn't do any direct art until Elton John. I helped Youssi with, he was having a bit of trouble getting Elton John designs, and I helped out, and eventually I became the main artist, and the portraits are done by John, but it's very photographic, obviously. So his old style is not like his 90s style of John is not really seen in this work. But then I also helped Franchi getting the art ready. So this is Christopher Franchi's Playfield art, and then you can see this is just the art without the wood and without anything on it, no inserts. This is the direct art that you print on the wood. So I also started doing the flyers for our games, back and front, and I actually have a 3D model in my 3D program. We put the art on it, and we can render it out, but each game, we need to change the armor color, we need to put the toppers on top, and every decal needs to be, so this is all 3D cabinets. The nice thing about this is that you can pre-visit without even building the cabinet or making official photographs, and we always have the same camera angle. So on each representation of each flyer, you can see it has the same angle. Eventually, the playfield that we do take pictures of, and we Photoshop it in. So that's the flyers. And then during Wizard of Oz, I got this rule sheet by Keith Johnson. It was like a 15-page document of all the rules in Wizard of Oz, and I had to digest that and turn that into a UI. So I made this flowchart of how you achieve things, how you get to a wizard mode, and then how it all comes together. So I could visualize it for myself in a sort of a simple way. And this became, you know, a thing. And we started creating designing the flowchart as well, because people seemed to like it. And at one point it sort of became like, hey JP, where's the flowchart? And I was like, well, I'm busy on all this stuff, but it takes a lot of time. And nowadays this has to be approved by the licensor as well. So at some point I'm like, well, maybe we shouldn't do these anymore, because just get a lot of, it depends on the licensor, of course. But here's a sample of, you know, the visuals I created for the backplate. We call this backplate at the end of the trailer. These are still those renders, but I put in the animations in the screens, and I make a logo animation for it. And then art directing. This is a sample from sketches from the artist I found. Eric. So I actually started more art directing when Eric did Guns N' Roses. He asked me, hey, can you help out, find artists, and that was cool. But we also found out, yeah, it's not easy to just pick a artist. This was a movie concert illustrator. No, not a movie concert. A concert poster illustrator. And we really liked the style. Slash was involved in selecting the artist, but this guy, he was not into pinball, and he had a really hard time filling up and understanding where things go. So I had to help out from a distance to visualize how the game looks, and this is an image of the whitewood, and I project the sketches that come in. We can project it and scale it and transform it so it fits on the playfield, and we sort of pre-visualize how it looked from the player's perspective. And so that helped, but in the end, yeah, for a trained eye, you can see it's a lot of different elements put together. Because there was no, and he was also working from, he never saw the game or whitewood in person. He was working from Los Angeles, and during COVID. So for me, most of the time most of my games I don't see before it is finished. So I saw Guns N' Roses here in Pinball Universe because I couldn't travel for 2 years. For the first time in person, and and then it needs to be right, and I think that worked out pretty well. Well, at least it was I guess the best-selling game of Jersey Jack. But I also, so during the years, so there's a presentation I held a half year ago in our Dutch people who have helped me during over the past years, and Johnny Wiegel is one of them. He helped me out from in the Wizard of Oz with the sculpting and the 3D animation of this hourglass. He helped out in the intro of the multi-ball on the Hobbit. Mainly he didn't do the dragon, obviously, but this end screen with the fireballs. He helped out in modeling all the different buildings for Dialed In. They came in untextured, and this is also what you just talked about, texturing the models. But they came in like this, and I textured all of them, placed them in the city, and rendered everything as a separate layer. Here you can see one of the passes where it's untextured, and you start trying to make some sort of a city. This last thing before, because he worked on Harry Potter, this was his last before, and on Toy Story. We got some models from Pixar, but most were flat renders. So for some, I asked him, hey, can you recreate this, and this is what he did. Then we have Jasper. Jasper was an artist I found online. I wanted, for Pirates, I needed some hand-drawn, old, wooden, ship-like graphics for the UI, and he helped out with that. And then 2-3 years later, he was still on doing a study as a game designer. He eventually became an artist in concept art. But so he did an internship with me while I was working on Guns N' Roses. So he created this animation, the Coma multi-ball.
I like it.
Yeah, and it's really nice. I created and he did a lot more. So during that internship, he told me about this poster he created for a contest, a worldwide contest for Spider-Man. And when I saw that, I was like, and this is being used on DVD covers around the world. And so I said, well, do you want to try to do a backglass? And because our artist in LA wasn't really, didn't have the speed we wanted. So he was, let's say, slow. So he said, yes, I can try, and he mimicked the style of this artist, and he did a collector's edition backglass. He took images from the Guns N' Roses assets we had, like pictures, and he created the scene, and then he started painting over it, as you can see. And we had a 3D model of the monster from Use Your Illusion, Appetite for Destruction. And we came up with this idea, let's have them, they are battling the monster from that album cover. And this is how it ended up. So there you see the 3D model. I rotated it, so what I think it should be the angle, and he painted over it, and that's what he does. He did the inner arm plates for that. So a nice idea by him was to add the masks in the Coma multi-ball section, and by coincidence, this was half a year before COVID, and it became natural in that time. He concept arted the final wizard mode, which I never reached, but we chose to make it more a painterly style of the characters from the lower playfield. So you go underground, and we're battling the devil. I animated all the characters to match the beat, and I hope to see you. I hope you get to see it one day. Then we had him work on. Then he was able to do the artwork for the Godfather Playfield, and not much there yet. Obviously, we didn't. So in this case, we didn't have any insert. It was mainly looking for the style. At first I thought we should try black and white and just red, just like Centaur, I think. I really like that style, and maybe we should do Sin City one time. But we figured out maybe we should also go into the browns and the more the movie warm tints. And these are just tests, and also sent to licensor in advance to get a initial approval. Like, are we in the correct direction? But here you start to see more the laying out and the inserts. And Jasper is not a graphic designer in that sense that he doesn't like vector art, to create vector art. So it's a collaboration of me and him, and so I created all the inserts and the text on it and the borders around it, and then lay that on top of his illustration work. And so it's a nice collaboration, and it's more samples of the top part. And Eric started using all these mini inserts on Guns N' Roses, and it's nice, but it's like it's almost like a Swiss cheese. The Playfields nowadays, it's full of inserts, too many rules, and you got to work around it, or work together with the designer to make sense. And then eventually Jasper did the artwork on the Playfield for Harry Potter, and he did the full Wizard Edition, Arcade Edition cabinet package. So it's been great working with him. Also here a collaboration of me doing the inserts, and then he did all the painted art. Then we have Olaf. Olaf is a Dutch animator. On Wonka, there was a demand or ask if we could do Oompa Loompas. And I'm not a 3D character animator. It's a specialty. You cannot do everything. So I was able to get him involved, and he did all the Oompa Loompas. Also because we couldn't use the Oompa Loompa from the official movie, because his character was licensed and you cannot use him. So we came up with a 3D version, and also the UI is sort of a Ted Estes had this idea of what if we are in a room, some sort of a control room of the factory, which we don't see in the movie, and this is where everything happens. And this is also obviously one of the earlier designs. And Olaf was also able to do some facial expressions on the. Doesn't really, so it was more of to show that the technology is possible, that you directly capture your face, which we now see on telephones like real time, and you got all these apps. And he was on some Friday he's having some fun with the Oompa Loompas, dropping boxes and making him headbang. But it's a fun project. So I suggested to you this logo to Jack half a year ago. Obviously a joke. No, there's a lot of work now coming from the Netherlands in JJP Games. I'm proud of that. So I'm going to show the 3 of the last games I worked on. Elton John was actually the first title I wasn't fond of doing. Also, we are since what was it? Godfather. The workload has become so much. I did every game until Godfather by myself, by myself, the animations, 80% me. But they work in more teams now, so they hired Steve Ritchie and they hired a new designer. So we have 3 teams now working simultaneously, and they have their own team, they have their own programs, they have their own music guy. But I was the only animator, and I said, well, I cannot keep up, and maybe we should find other people to do that. And yes, you can look in the Chicago area, which we tried, but then it's going to be harder for me to work together with an animator on a distance as well. So yeah, I asked Olaf, hey, do you know someone who can help me out? Because he was always busy. And he said, well, I'm actually interested. I've been following your work, and I would love to do a game. So I was not interested in doing Elton John. I was like, yeah, let's pass. I don't like his music, and I have my music taste is different, and so I wanted to pass on this, which I sort of did. It was nice to create a custom logo. This license was very open, like Guns N' Roses. They're artists themselves, so they understand what it is to create, creative work, and it's not so strict by a company or a movie company or actors. So they have created this logo, and then there was a style guide which you could do with the logo, and there were these animations they show at the start of the concert. So we suggested a sort of pinball built logo for this game. So here's some early. So I helped Olaf. He was new to this. How do I start? Where do you start with the UI? Where do you put the things? And we came up with this star. This is the shape Elton uses nowadays. So, and they actually had rules about how the star should look. Well, it's a basic star. It's like the straight lines. It's like, but we tried to do something different and use the star as a divider in that UI. Spell out Elton John on the piano, collect his letters, the rocket, the song modes where you have to collect all the. Yeah, so this is early. This is Illustrator early sketches, putting some animations in, send it to the licensor. Hey, is this going in the right direction? Yes or no? And yeah, Olaf suggested to actually use animations in the digits, in the numbers, so you can see some glitter movement, and it's cool to get new ideas and new people in because at one point you're starting to replicate yourself. Like, okay, now what do I do now? It's a different theme, but you still, you keep, it's hard to reinvent yourself or do something different. So here's some new, another question.
About these, this new JJP thing about every player having a certain number of balls left, and using like 3 balls to the right. Has anybody ever understood what you mean?
Sorry?
Has anybody ever understood what this means? I mean,
you apparently don't.
Yeah.
So this is an idea by Keith Johnson, and some ideas are pushed by programmers. This is the idea of, yes, you can earn extra balls, but you don't play it directly after you lose your ball. So people who are very good and have an extra ball and have an extra ball, the other players don't have to wait. So you get you see how many balls you still have to play, and you get it at the end of the game.
Okay, I understand that thing. It's player 1 sports is right. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I would love to discuss later with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But I'm more, I guess, I do tend, a lot of people like the original way of playing. Because yes, they say, hey, I just got an extra ball, and now it's player 2. Yeah, you do miss out also on the extra ball animation or shoot again, because we're not showing that. But you can set it, you can change it in the settings to original. So Olaf did a lot of 3D modeling of the Elton items, very well-known items. He actually made sheets like, okay, I think this song should be in these colors. We have this outfit that fits with that glass and those glasses and those shoes. And we mainly and we looked at the video clips, see what he wore during that period, and we also tried to mix it up. But then, like here, we see some image of I'm still standing with the fuzzy glasses, but also here it's from the same clip or same song. But he was showing a lot of different glasses in that clip. But the licensor wanted to, and they changed things a bit around, because they also, we tended to show more of the young Elton, while they said, well, it should be the range of his whole career, from young to middle age to old Elton John. So they got involved in mixing it up a bit. And here you see some pre-visual, some final renders of the outfits, and it's a lot of work, and obviously a lot. It's a lot better than what I do, because I tend to work mostly in 2D and some 3D, but Olaf is just more, he's better in this. So it was great to have him do all of this on a game I didn't want to work on. So I did. So at one point, I got a telephone call. Steve. So this is Steve Ritchie's first game at JJP, obviously. He was working with Johnny Wiegel, but Johnny Wiegel was not working as he did with Pat Lawler. Pat Lawler guided him, gave him a lot of ideas. I didn't really work well between Steve and Pat. So they got Franchi. They asked Franchi, hey, can you do one package? And we have Johnny Wiegel do one package. Turned out Franchi didn't really, they clashed a bit with Steve. It seems to be a theme around Steve, but so they asked me, hey, can you take a look at this and negotiate or see how you can help out? And so I was not involved in that whole process before halfway the project, and I asked John, well, can you show me one of your early works, the earlier sketches? And he had Elton John in this goofy, like the way he illustrated in the 90s, like whirlwind. And I was like, well, this is great. I do want to see more of this. Like this is what reminds us of the old Youssi style. But we sent that to licensor, to Elton John, and they didn't like it. So that's why we don't see that on the game. But and then this is a sample. I also pre-create canvases for the artist, so they know what the inserts are. Yes, and then in this case, Steve also had every insert in place. You can move a bit around with Steve, but he has very specifically knows, hey, I want this and this and this. So this is what you give to the artist. Also, a separate layer for the plastics, so they can see how it all looks together eventually. Oh, this was going to animate it. See the trap lines, the cutting, the numbers of the plastics, and here's the A mid stage. The orange area you can see it's not filled up. The plastics made a start on the plastics.